Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Before we get started, I ask everybody go ahead and hit that thumbs up if you enjoy the State of the Saints podcast. And I also want to give a special shout out to Angel and Mike of the Broad Street Sidecast. I just finished wrapping up doing a show with them. Always a great time. Shouts out to those brothers. Really doing a great job over there. Some of you probably caught a little bit of the stream that I tried to share here on the page. But if you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to the Broad Street South podcast. They do an awesome job over there. And once again, man, I really had a good time. But this is not going to be a long show, but I do want to talk about Alvin Kamara. Some of you probably already heard that Alvin Kamara returned to practice this week. Yes, he's been practicing on a limited basis. And this is huge news for the New Orleans Saints because we know as Saints fans how important Alvin Kamara is to the New Orleans Saints as a staff, organization, and crew. He is the offense. He is the straw that stirs the drink. He is the guy that gets this offense going. And without him, I feel like this offense is extremely stagnant. I mean, they're stagnant with him, but they're extremely stagnant without him. So him coming back to practice is very huge news. But I do say this. I think the Saints need to be very careful. They need to be very, very careful bringing back in Alvin Kamara a little bit too soon. Now, I understand you have some big games coming up. You got a big game against Buffalo on Thanksgiving. You got a big game against the Cowboys the following Thursday. So I understand that you have a lot of big games coming up, and Alvin Kamara is going to have to be a part of those. So I would not be mad if the Saints decide to sit him for another week, especially going up against the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that is doing some really good things, but not to a point where I feel like the Saints can't beat Philly without Alvin Kamara. But I want Alvin Kamara to be fully healthy. So if the Saints do decide to win some games and make that push towards the playoffs, he can be as healthy and as close to 100% as he possibly can. We seen last week that Mark Ingram was willing to really tote that mail and put the team on his back. He really turned back the clock. He really showed you that he had a lot left in the tank, and it really just showed you how much Mark Ingram was missed in Who That Nation. I think the Saints are okay with that 1-2 punch. I think they finally found that missing piece that they needed as that complimentary back. I know they tried to make Tony Jr. that guy, and he did some good things in preseason, but he got hurt early, and it kind of just messed up the dynamic of the running back group. Then you had Ty Montgomery. He was supposed to do some things last week. He ended up getting hurt, messed his finger up really bad. But Mark Ingram came in. He ran in between the tackles. He caught the ball out of the backfield, and he did some really, really good things. So I think that Mark Ingram can carry the load for at least one more week, especially against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think that the New Orleans Saints can do some things offensively without Alvin Kamara being in the lineup. You got to be careful with that. Also, Taysom Hill got kind of nicked up in the game. Sean Payton talked about him having an injury. So that's definitely bad news for the New Orleans Saints because that's another player that is very, very beneficial to what the New Orleans Saints do. What the New Orleans Saints do with Taysom Hill, with Alvin Kamara, those guys are really huge parts of the Saints offense. So if you have both of those guys out, definitely going to have something missing. That means that other guys are going to have to step up. You're going to have to see other guys make some plays. You're going to have to see some guys catch a pass, for God's sakes. Okay, so I think that they can get the job done. All you need to do is win against Philly. You know, it don't have to be the prettiest win ever, but let's just get out of the losing column because for the last 2 weeks, the Saints have lost 2 straight. And when you start to lose 3 games in a row, that's when people start to get into panic mode. And that's somewhere that Saints fans and the Saints organization don't want to go. But let me go ahead and go to some of your comments. We're going to read and we'll just go from there. We're going to start with, let's start with Josh. Josh says, I'm getting some therapy tonight. Well, that's good. You know, that's good. I don't know if you're talking about Saints therapy, You know what I'm saying? Like therapy. Are you at the doctor's office? I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm just kidding, Josh, but I'm glad that you're here, man. Thank you so much. Slim South says, who that TJ and family? What's going on, Slim South? Thank you so much, man, for supporting your boy over on the Broad Street South podcast. Shamika says, good evening. Who that? What's going on, Shamika? Thank you for being here. Jerry, thank you very much for being here and also supporting on Broad Street as well. I'm going to stroll down a little bit. I think Kamara should rest. I agree with that, Shamika. I mentioned that. I think he should rest. I don't think they need to rush him back. He is very important to this team. I'm telling you, with a name like Jerry Poole Jr., you should be a coach. Yeah, that is a coach name. That is a coach name. Sounds like somebody that win a lot of games. Bobby says, I read AK wasn't at practice today. Well, he has been at practice for the last couple of days. So he has shown up. So if he's not at practice, that probably means that they're trying to hold him out, which is a good thing. I don't want to see AK rush back. Who that fan watching Atlanta get that beat down, especially Matt Ryan? Well, that sounds good to me. Sound like a good night. I don't feel like I have to watch Falcons games if I don't have to. I try not to watch them. I heard that they're not good for your health. Kirkland says, Mark got some juice left. Don't rush AK back. I agree. I think he did a really good job last week. Who that fam? CT Crusher, what's going on, man? Pammy says, who that fam? I think we're about to go on a 5-game winning streak. Well, that would be nice if they did. The Saints need to go ahead and right the ship because right now they lost 2 straight games, and this is uncharted territory, man. The Saints aren't used to like being in this position, and it's been a while. I want to say since 2016. What if they ban AKs in the city of New Orleans? Will AK still be allowed to play at home games? Well, I assume since his name is Alvin Kamara and this is initials and not an actual assault rifle or AK-47, I think he should be okay. CT giving a shout out to Pammy. Who that 32 says it's hard to have confidence in a team that is inconsistent as we are. Who that I absolutely agree with what you're saying, and I understand your skepticism as a Saints fan. I mentioned it on the Broad Street podcast that, I don't really have as much confidence in the New Orleans Saints making a run at it as I did in years past. I do feel like the Saints are well coached. Do I feel like they're a playoff team? Yes, I do. But if the Saints wouldn't make the playoffs, would it surprise me? Absolutely not. This is a very inconsistent team. They shoot themselves in the foot constantly, over and over again. Penalties, guys being out of place, false starts, guys dropping passes. Everything that you can possibly do to lose a game, the Saints have shown you that they can lose in that fashion. And if you add the fact that they can't find a kicker that can kick between the uprights consistently, it just shows you right there, man, the New Orleans Saints are in a lot of trouble. But if the Saints can somehow discipline themselves, right? Make themselves disciplined, not make the mistakes, not get these false starts, and just go out there and play their game, then I think that this team can go up against any team and beat them. But they do a really good job at beating themselves. You lost to the best team in the AFC by 2 points last Sunday. Don't tell me that this team isn't good enough to make a playoff run. Charles says, TJ, about bedtime, just wanted to like and say hello. Charles, thank you, man. I really do appreciate it. This is definitely not going to be a long show. It's been an extremely long day. I've been running all day. I was a part of a podcast earlier, and I just wanted to get on and talk a little bit about Alvin Kamara. Jerry giving a shout out to CT. Pam also giving a shout out to CT. Let's see. Grambling looking for a head coach, Jerry. Yeah, Grambling, they fired their head coach, man, which to me was a shock. Well, he wasn't really doing a really good job, and they have been struggling over the last couple of years. But, I mean, this guy has really shown in the past that, he can win some games. I mean, Grambling was playing in the SWAC championship. They were in the Heritage Bowl. I mean, they were doing some really good things. So the fact that, that he was fired was a little bit of a shock, but it also shows you that there's a standard at Grambling University that they want to have. You know, I mean, this is the place that Eddie Robinson coached. You know, the legendary Eddie Robinson. Doug Williams also did a really good job. So they don't really condone mediocrity, and I can't, I can't blame them for that. I can't blame them. So you got to do what you got to do, I guess. Mark ate last week. I love it. Yeah, Lee, he did a really good job, and he was really motivated. Honestly, I think we should let AK rest for 2 more games. Treat it like IR because we need him 100%. Tim, I agree with that. That's a good point. Shouts out to Tim out there in Canada. That's a good point. I do feel like they need to rest him because he's way more valuable when he's healthy. So I think they do need to rest him. Ghostface says, "Who that TJ and a who that fam?" What's going on, Ghostface? Thank you for being here. T-Cells, T-Cell says they are hard on. I don't know exactly what that means. I'm sorry, you have to expound on that. I'm not too sure, man. Help, the chat is haunted. TJ, call an exorcist. It's a ghost in here. Let's see. Pammy says, "Go face." T-Cell says they are hard on Teddy B in Denver. Okay, T-Cell, there we go. They hard on Teddy B. Look, I can understand that. Being at the quarterback position, you draft your quarterback in Drew Lock. Don't give him opportunity to play. Say that all the other quarterbacks are better than him, right? And you bring in Teddy Bridgewater. So think about this, man. You draft this guy. People are looking at this guy to be the guy because you drafted him. He's a homegrown guy. Of course, you're going to root for that guy. And you're saying, hey, we're not going to go with Drew Lock. We're going to go with Teddy Bridgewater. So you're like, okay, well, show us that you can do better than what Drew Lock is doing. Well, at the quarterback position, he's not doing much. He's not helping the team win, and they're not getting the results that they're looking for. That's the reason why I tell everybody that Sean Payton is a special coach. Sean Payton is special because he can get the most out of, anybody. You know what I'm saying? He takes what you do best and he puts it all together in a package, and he allows that to be beneficial on the field. And that's what makes Sean Payton a really good coach. Sean Payton was able to do this with Taysom. He's doing it right now with Trevor Siemian. He did it with Teddy Bridgewater, and he did it with Jameis Winston. So that shows you right there how good of a coach Sean Payton really is. Because everywhere Teddy Bridgewater has been, he struggled. But when he was with the Saints, he was helping the Saints win football games. That is the genius that is Sean Payton. Regardless of how you feel about Sean, regardless of how you feel about him as a coach, a decision maker at time in crucial situations, you have to admit, if it was any other coach coaching this team with the issues that the Saints played with Michael Thomas being out, with Jameis Winston being out for the season, with all of those players at the beginning of the season being injured, you have key players that are still injured right now. Other teams probably wouldn't even be above 500. So it just shows you the coaching staff that he's put together and the coach that he is to get the best out of these players right now. And one of those players he got the best out of was Teddy Bridgewater. And right now, Denver is not getting the best out of Teddy B. But, I mean, we love Teddy B in a Who Dat Nation, so it's hard for us to even criticize him because he gave us great moments, as Saints fans when he was here. So we root for him from afar. But, look, there's a standard for every team, and he's not giving the Denver Bronco Nation what they want. So it's well within their rights to criticize it, especially I like Teddy, but that effort that he put towards on that Darius Slay interception was not what you want to see from a guy. That's not how you get confidence. That's not how your teammates start to buy into you. It makes them kind of, roll their eyes when you hit the field. The passing game sucks. I definitely agree with that. It's definitely not the best. It's definitely not where you want it to be. But here's the reality of it, Brandon. It's not going to change. It's not going to change. It's just what it is. It's not going to change. Larry Fitzgerald, Randy Moss, Antonio Brown, Plaxico Burress, none of these guys are walking through that door. What you have right now is a bunch of guys that are a bunch of role guys, and that's what the Saints are going to have to roll with. So we might as well just strap in, sit back, and pray for the best. because it is not going to change. It is not going to change. Anthony says, who that? Who that, fam? I heard good news on Jameis Winston's surgery, and he should be ready in time for camp next season. Well, that's good, Anthony. I heard the same thing that you're alluding to, and I'm happy for Jameis. I think that Jameis, it was a tough break for him, tearing his ACL against his former team. You can tell at the beginning of that game it meant a lot to him. He wanted to go out there and prove that they made a mistake by letting him go, and his teammates were ready to support him in that feat. But he ended up, tearing his ACL and messing up his MCL a little bit. But we seen after the game he was dancing in the locker room, still in good spirits. Demario Davis was honored. He showed up. Nobody expected him to be there. So that just shows you the type of teammate and the type of love that he has for his teammates and the type of love that they have for him. And I just think that I was going to say Teddy. I would think that Jameis Winston is going to be back with the Saints. I think they're going to re-sign him. Probably something similar to what he had before, maybe a little bit more money to make it worth his while. And I think that they're going to try to, give him another shot. I do feel like, it's going to be a competition. This time they're going to add Ian Book into the mix. But I do feel like Jameis Winston is going to get an opportunity to compete for a starting position. And it would be interesting to see what he can do in the Saints uniform next season, because everything that I see shows me that he deserves to get a second shot at being a quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. I like Jameis. I think he embraced the city. I think the city was starting to embrace him. I think they started to really look at him as their quarterback, except for the people that probably have their reservations and they're never going to be able to change that. But for the most part, he was really showing people that he was really trying to do his best to try to become the best quarterback for New Orleans. And to me, he did a really good job. So I'm rooting for him. T says, who that, fam? I heard they used AK as a decoy on the field and did Tony Jones practice. Well, Tony Jones was off IR. I didn't hear anything about him practicing. Of course, I didn't really check out any of the notes from practice. I didn't see any of the interviews. I know Malcolm Jenkins spoke to the media today. Didn't check that out. But Tony Jones, he is off IR, which is a good thing. And if they can get him back into the mix, that would be huge for the New Orleans Saints. Lily says they need to realize we playing with secondary players and they're doing great to me. Yeah, Lily, if you're looking at the fact that they're secondary players, the fact that they're role players, backups, they are doing a great job. Because they're only doing as good as they are. If they were as good as advertised or top players, they would be in that starting rotation. But the only reason why they're in this situation is because guys got hurt. But I do feel like the Saints need to be a little bit more aggressive in practice. Really going out here, whoever is having a really good practice, whoever having a really good week, I think that guy needs to be the guy that's playing. The Saints are in no way, for the exception of Deontay Harris, Traquan Smith, who has been playing pretty decent these last couple weeks. Those are the only two guys to me. And you can throw in Callaway, I guess. But those are the guys that I feel like, you need to be on the field. But guys like Kevin White, what I'm saying? Some of these other guys that kind of just rotate, I feel like their spot needs to be up for grabs. Where's Lil Jordan Humphreys? Where's Quan Baker? Where's Aesop Winston? I heard Jalen McCleskey, he tried to practice with the team. They tried to, he tried to do a trial. But where are these guys at? Okay, give these guys an opportunity. They've been in camp. They've been a part of the practice squad. They've been in the classrooms. Give these guys an opportunity, okay? If another guy dropping passes, if he's getting open but not catching, come on, man, give these other guys an opportunity to go out there and see what they're made of, because they can't do any worse than what I'm seeing right now on the field. Guys can't get separation, and guys, when they get separation, aren't making plays. So I don't feel like it'll be any different, because the expectations is so low for the guys that they already have. So what do you expect for those other guys, right? You got to throw something against the wall and hope that it stick, right? X-Men says, man, we missing 3 if the 5 offensive linemen. We got to rely on Kamara a lot. Let's go, who that nation. Yeah, man. You got an offensive line that's banged up. Teron Armstead, Andrews Pete. You got Ryan Ramczyk that's been on the list. Eric McCoy was hurt earlier in the season. Cesar Ruiz playing like he hurt. It's just, it's bad business right now. The Saints are snake bitten. Man, everything is happening. I mean, it's not a day that goes by. I don't like close my eyes and hope and pray that something bad doesn't happen when I search New Orleans Saints on Google. It's really bad. You know what I'm saying? It seems like, it's looking like a mass unit up in here. It's looking like, it's looking like you can play the mass soundtrack every single week for the New Orleans Saints. But somehow, some way, they still find ways to be in a conversation as being a really good team. They still seem to be in a conversation for making the playoffs. But you got to go ahead and start stringing some wins. Okay, right now, you're ahead of the curve. Right now, you're going through a little dry spell, right? But you got to be able to go out here and generate some success. And it starts by not making these mistakes that we've been seeing over the last couple of weeks. It'll be one thing if you were terrible and you were putting forth the effort and you were actually going out there and losing. We'll be like, well, at least they tried hard. At least they were doing all the right things to win. But when you're not doing the right things to win and you're behind that ball, it's hard for individuals to understand, especially at the end of the game, you're in the fight. It just makes the situation even more frustrated because even though they're behind the eight ball, they're still good enough to go up against elite competition and compete. So to me, that makes it more frustrating as a fan. Tim, thank you very much for the $5. He says Sean and Drew were truly the perfect combo. Drew elevated an average offense, and Sean put these guys in the best position. That took time. Tim, to me, as good as Drew Brees was as a quarterback, and he was great, don't get me wrong, I feel like we are really starting to see the genius of Sean Payton this season because it's hard for us to really appreciate a coach's greatness when he's surrounded by great players. You think about Phil Jackson as a coach, right? Phil Jackson, great coach, right? In the eyes of the general public. But he had Michael Jordan. He had Scottie Pippen. He had Shaq and Kobe. He had all these great players that were around him. But what happened if he didn't have those players? Would he still be the same coach? I think when guys start to lose those guys that are conjoined to their greatness and they start to win post that individual, it really just shows you how great that coach really is. The fact that the Saints are 5-4, the fact that they're formidable no matter who's on the field, this is a testament to how good Sean Payton is as a head coach. To me, I feel like this would be Sean Payton's greatest coaching job because this is a year of uncertainty, Who Dat Nation. You know it. I know it. We're so uncertain. Like, we don't know for a fact that the Saints are going to go out there and put forth a great effort like we did when Drew Brees was here. But we know that we have a chance because Sean Payton is the coach. So to me, Sean Payton is really doing an outstanding job. He's showing everybody that Drew Brees was great, but he's a great coach. Kenny says we are shooting ourselves in the foot with these last few losses. Kenny, you're absolutely right, man. And that's the frustrating thing about this. Like I just mentioned, it'll be one thing if the Saints were down and damaged, they put forth the effort and they were losing. I think we would understand that more. We'd be like, well, they did all the right things, but they just don't have the horses in the barn. But when they're there, they're making mistakes and they're there in the end, it just makes it frustrating. Like, man, these guys can win. Like, you know what I'm saying? And they're shooting themselves in the foot. So that is the frustrating thing about this whole Saints experience right now, that they're beating themselves in most cases. Let me see. Let's see. Gabe Brickick, kicker for Oklahoma, kicking 60-yard field goal. Yeah, man. It just seems like, when you're dealing with something is lacking, you can always find somebody doing something better, right? Like field goal kicking, right? We can find a million field goal kickers that's doing better than what we have because we're dealing with it right now. Look, Will Lutz is a special kicker for a reason. So reason why he's in the 80th percentile when it comes to field goals is the reason why he was right behind Justin Tucker for kicking accuracy over the last couple of years. I mean, look, that shows you how valuable kicking actually is. So, I mean, I can't wait to get this guy back. What up, Tim? Saints got Thanksgiving showdown against the Bills. Yeah, I know that's going to be an interesting game, Mike. I'm looking forward to it, man. I mean, the Saints are undefeated on Thanksgiving. They beat the Cowboys. They beat the Falcons. So maybe they can beat the Bills. So Ty Montgomery is playing Sunday. He had a gruesome injury to his pinky. I mean, it's separated. You know what I'm saying? I heard that I ain't trying to gross nobody out, but I heard that the bone was sticking out of the pinky, which is really disgusting. It shows you his toughness, but if he played this Sunday, I mean, that's just a testament to how tough this guy really is. Business move. Yeah, that wasn't a good look on Teddy. Yeah, I mean, look, the quarterback position, look, nobody expect for you to go out here and be Terrell Suggs or Ray Lewis or Lawrence Taylor. But you have to put forward the effort. Your teammates have to believe that you are just involved in them. And when they see you doing stuff like that and whiffing on tackles and you're losing, that's the type of stuff that they look at. So when you go out there and you're talking about putting forth effort, in the back of their minds, their wide receiver, like, man, get out of my face. Because if you want me to be all in, you have to be all in. And I like Teddy, but it wasn't a good look. It wasn't. And he know it. He know it wasn't. Ingram still a beast. Yeah, Jamie, he is. I don't think that ever changed. Look, Mark Ingram didn't leave the New Orleans Saints because he was washed up. He left the New Orleans Saints because it was a contract situation. He wanted more money. He thought about stalling, not answering his phone. He would have got more money. He tried to play the waiting game. The Saints were like, well, we ain't hear from you. We'll sign this guy, Latavius Murray, in your place. So it was bad information given to Mark Ingram by his representation. I don't think that representation is still with Mark anymore. He ended up going to Baltimore, getting about the same money the Saints offered him. So he basically left for absolutely nothing. So if Mark Ingram would have re-signed with the New Orleans Saints, 2-3 year deal, I mean, he would have been the all-time leading rusher for the New Orleans Saints earlier. He probably would have been more beneficial in a running game. And who knows, he might have been that extra piece that we need to get us over the hump to go to a championship game and even a Super Bowl. But hindsight is 2020. I'm glad that he's back, and I'm glad that he's the all-time leading rusher. Mark Ingram started off a little rough with the Who Dat Nation. A lot of people thought, man, it was a bad pick picking him at 28. Some people felt like, saying he was a waste of a draft pick for the last few years of his career. And then around year 4, year 5, the lights started to come on for him, and he really started to ball out, and he earned the respect of the Who Dat Nation. And now he's one of the most beloved New Orleans Saints players that ever played in the black and gold. And he's definitely going to be in the Saints Ring of Honor one day. He's definitely one of the best New Orleans Saints players that the Saints have ever had, in my opinion. Already read that one. Ghostface says, as predicted, the Falcons are going on a 5-game losing streak. Yeah, man, look, the Falcons aren't really that good, which makes, once again, a situation even more frustrating because Saints let them boys off the hook, and they allowed these guys to come into the Superdome and beat them, which is completely a head-scratcher to me. And the Saints are going to look back on situations like that if they're on the outside looking into the playoffs and be like, man, we should have won that football game. So you can't lose to teams like this if you expect for you to do anything down the line. Our O-line is banged, though. Yeah, they banged up, but, man, it's next man up. Look, there's so many issues going on with the New Orleans Saints, too. It's ridiculous. I mean, we all can point out different things. But here's the realization of it all. Nobody cares. Nobody cares the Saints are hurt. Nobody cares that the Saints are down. Nobody cares that the Saints have Michael Thomas out and Alvin Kamara out and they ain't got Drew Brees no more. Nobody cares, okay? You have to go out there. You got to line up against the opposition, and they don't care what you're going through. So the Saints have another game against Philadelphia. They have to find a way to be competitive versus the Eagles out there in Lincoln Financial. If they don't, then they're going to be on a 3-game skid. We're going to be continuously being frustrated, but there's nothing we can really do about it. You have to strap in, Who Dat Nation. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. You got to strap in because the cavalry ain't coming. It's not. The cavalry isn't coming. It's not like we can wait a few weeks and then somebody else is going to show up. We've lost some key players for the remainder of the season, and these guys aren't coming back. So the Saints are going to have to find ways to win now if they're going to try to make the playoffs. And nobody cares that they're hurt. We care because we're fans. Other teams don't care. And they're and to be honest with you, they're probably excited that the Saints are dealing with what they're dealing with because it makes them more easier to beat. Come on, man. I mean, when we see key players hurt on other teams, we're not happy that they hurt. But we look at the convenience of it all, and we're like, man, like that, that's the advantage for us. That's how teams look at it. Ain't no fun when a rabbit have the gun. The receiving corps is improving. That's all we can hope for. Look, Nola, my mama favorite saying, when somebody show you who they are, believe them. I don't see this wide receiver group improving. Like, I want it as much as you want it, Nola. I want them to improve. Excuse me. I want them to be better. I want them to be more physical. I want them to be able to get off the line of scrimmage. And I want them to be able to make the tough catches. But Nola, I'm concerned because week after week after week, I'm watching these guys make these same mistakes over and over again. I'm watching very few players make plays, and I'm watching easy passes get dropped to the ground. That's concerning. And I don't think that is going to change. The only way it can change, unfortunately, is we get to the offseason, the Saints possibly draft a wide receiver, something they should have done years ago, and we try to combine that with some more players that can play wide receiver, maybe a free agent, maybe somebody else that can step up, that emerges, somebody we haven't seen, maybe a Quan Baker, maybe somebody like that. But I don't see any changes coming. The cavalry is not coming. This is your 2021 New Orleans Saints, who that nation. So strap in. Make Ian Book back up to Trevor Siemian. Tramal, he is. He is the backup. He is the backup to Trevor Siemian. Ian Book is dressing now. He wasn't dressing before. He was in street clothes. He was in Saints paraphernalia on the sidelines. Now that Jameis Winston is out, he dresses. He is the second string quarterback if Trevor Siemian was to go down. Yes, he is. He is the guy that's supposed to come in, just like when Trevor Siemian was the backup when Jameis, was the starter. Same way, because Taysom Hill, they have packages for him, and they use him in a variety of ways. So the emergency backup is indeed Ian Book. Let me scroll down a little bit. I want to thank Love the Fartman. Thank you very much for the $2. Says, I was a great fart rapper back in the day. Man. I'll be ripping them. Make triumphant return. Roger, thank you very much for the $5. He says, what was previously mentioned before in your podcast, we need to really run the ball more, man. The Patriots run it all through the Falcons. You got to get a Patriots credit. Started off a little slow, sluggish towards the beginning of the season. But Mac Jones seems to really start to grasp this whole concept. And now they're going on a little bit of a run. And they're starting to be the Patriots of old. They're calling Carter's defense, doing what they need to do in order to win football games. So Bill Belichick has really found this groove. So you got to give him credit. Kimberly says, should Tom Brady stand there with his hands on his hips after a pick? Look, everybody has their ways to kind of decompress, right? That's probably his way. Everybody throw interceptions, I guess. But hey, that's Tom Brady. I guess that's his way of kind of dealing with the mistake that he made. Brandon says if the offense can give us at least B-level production going forward, we could win the next couple of games. Brandon, if they stop making mistakes, dude, these penalties, false starts, holding penalties, like dropping passes, those are the things that they need to do in order for them to take that next step. Look, they're average. They're average, man. It is what it is. If you're average, right, at least do what you can. You know what I'm saying? At that average, these guys aren't even doing that. So they're average. They're playing below average. So what's below that? That's terrible, right? If you have a great receiver like Michael Thomas, if he's playing good, we're looking at him, right? man, he did all right, but I know he can do better than that. If you got a good receiver and he's playing average, you like, man, bruh, man, like, I don't know about this dude. But if you average and you know what I'm saying, you playing below average, like get this bum up out of here. So there's levels to this. So if you play at your level of what you are, nobody will get mad at you. But these guys are making some boneheaded mistakes, and it's extremely frustrating to watch. Like, I understand that you guys aren't about to go out here and give me 100, 150, 200 yards a game. But, dog, can you please catch the ball when you have both hands on it? I don't think that's hard to ask, right? I don't think it's hard to ask. You know, like if your wife makes you a good meal or your husband makes you a good meal, is washing the dishes after the meal too hard to ask? If they gave you, you know what I'm saying, a good meal? No, right? You know what I'm saying? You were nice enough to do this for me. At least I can do is wash the dishes after this delicious meal that you just prepared for me. Okay? At least you can do is you getting this opportunity. At least you can do is take advantage of it. At least what you can do is limit the mistakes in order to help the team be able to get over the hump because they're already behind the 8 ball. They do not need you to make mistakes to make the situation that they're in even worse. Mike says, I hope not a knee sprain. Doesn't heal in a week. Plus, Ingram and Jones should be fun to watch. Yeah, look, I think that Mike, if it's a knee sprain, definitely don't want to rush him back. Okay, that's something that can easily be re-aggravated, and it's something that you really have to look at, down the line. Okay, is this risk worth the reward? Me personally, I don't think so. You need to have him rest. There's nothing that I seen last week from Mark Ingram shows me that he wouldn't be able to run the football and be able to carry the load in the absence of AK. Okay, and if you get somebody like Taysom Hill, if he's healthy enough to play, or Tony Jones, he's healthy enough to play, I think that's good enough for the Saints to go out there and be able to be formidable against Philly. But you do not rush back your star player. We see the same thing happen in Carolina, right? You keep on using a guy like Christian McCaffrey and eventually start to get nicked up more and more and more. So, and then you try to get him back and it re-aggravates the injury. So you got to be careful with that. I'd rather AK rest, okay, instead of him trying to be, rushed back. Kim says we are definitely the 49ers of last season. Yeah, I mean, look, they were plagued with injuries last season. They definitely were. And, it was hard for them to weather the storm. But, the Saints are doing a pretty good job right now. They're still above 500. Chemo says take the bad with the good. Yeah, sometimes you have to. Ramsey said, hey, TJ, is there any news on Taysom Hill injured foot? No, just, the fact that he injured, he injured his foot in the last game. He was on the injury report. I expect for, a verdict to come out if he's going to play or not. If it's something serious, we might be missing Taysom also on Sunday. Ghostface says, I already admit it. It's been me. Why you acting like this is news? Josh. Man. Vanette is concerning. Well, the concerning thing about it is you sign this guy to a contract and he's yet to play. He's off IR. Maybe we'll see him in a game this week. Wouldn't hurt. I mean, Adam Troutman has been a disaster this season. And, the thing about Adam Troutman, and shouts out to T-Bob, my guy, he made a good point. He said, man, he does really good in run blocking. And sometimes, like, if you look at him block, and he does a really good job, but all that good work he does as a premium blocker at the tight end position gets wiped out because everybody's looking at the plays that he could have made. And that's the truth, man. You can be really good at one thing, and then you start lacking at another thing that is very important, probably more so than people look at, even though blocking is important. But he has been a disaster. Like, we all had high expectations for Adam Troutman. I know I did. I talk very highly of this guy. Do I feel like I'm eating crow at this point? Absolutely. But do I still believe in this guy? Yes, I do. He's young. He's going to make mistakes. I don't feel like how some other people feel like, man, get this bum up out of here. Now, if this start to happen, going into like his third year, then we're gonna have to have a conversation. Like, man, maybe we need to get this bum up out of here. But he's been a huge disappointment. And I think the biggest disappointment is because the expectations that we had. We got rid of Jared Cook, and we expect for him to emerge to be something better than what Jared Cook was in the Saints uniform. And even though we're so upset and we're frustrated about that fumble, that could have converted that third down and he fumbled, I bet anybody would tell you that you wish that we possibly had Jared Cook on this team this season. Like, you would be lying if you say you want to take Jared Cook this season after what you've seen at the tight end position. Brandon says the Falcons getting shut out at home by a rookie quarterback. Gotta love it on Thursday night, and everybody gonna be watching it. You gotta love that. We missed Sanders badly. Should have kept him. Emmanuel Sanders, I mean, you couldn't afford him. Man. You had to make a tough decision. Brandon says we need to draft wide receivers in the first 2 rounds next year. Yeah, definitely want to do it in the first or second round. Wouldn't get mad if the Saints get, it's something else. You know what I'm saying? Maybe like an offensive lineman. I know that sounds crazy to some people. Probably get mad, roll the eyes, but you have to look at the fact that they're going to allow Teron Armstead to test the free agent market, right? And so if they was to get a tackle, you need somebody to be able to replace him. Landon Young is available. I don't know if he's going to be the next tackle of the future or not, but going to need somebody to possibly replace Armstead or move somebody around. But they definitely need to have a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds. They definitely do. TJ, you got to address what I said about the defense. Josh, I didn't even see it, man. I'm sorry, man. I've scrolled down, so I probably missed that. But I want to take this time, man, while we have this break to thank the fine folks at manscaped.com. Manscaped.com getting you ready for the holiday season. There y'all see it right there. A gift for both wish list. The perfect package for his perfect package. Manscaped.com, the official sponsor of the State of the Saints podcast. Save 20% on your purchase, okay? By using the promo code State of Saints. They got their new body wash, their new 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. I've used this. This is really good stuff right here. Have me feeling good, smelling good all day long. They also have their ultra smooth packages right now. So much stuff you can choose from manscaped.com. Use the promo code State of Saints and you'll save 20% off. Now back to the comments. Read a few more, then we're going to get up out of here. The old Dirty Foster, thank you very much for the $2, says, I was a good fart rapper too. Yeah, man. He is back with a vengeance. Strolling down a little bit. Justin says, rest in peace to Young Dolph. Absolutely, man. Rest in peace to Young Dolph. Such a tragic situation. I don't know, man. It's rough. It's rough. And this guy was so beloved by so many people. He was such an approachable guy, man. I mean, I don't look every time I go down my timeline, I see somebody took a picture with him. So it shows you how approachable he was. And the fact that he was in his hometown. I mean, that's the most frustrating and sad thing about all of this. He was in his hometown and he ended up getting shot and killed by his own people. That's awful, man. This is another situation where a promising guy, a bona fide legend in the making, ends up getting cut down in his own hometown. We seen this a couple years ago with Nipsey Hussle. Now we're seeing it again. I don't want to go down, that route like, oh, people need to stay away from their hometown when they become successful. But it's just sad, like when people see individuals that they grew up around, they reach this certain level, how angry and how full of hate they can possibly be. But I mean, sometimes your hometown be the people that be mostly against you. I said on social media earlier today, even Jesus, like he went back to Nazareth, after like he started to like really make a name for himself and people really started to know him. And he went back to his hometown. His people wanted to throw him off a cliff. So all the things that he was doing, all the positive things, all the healing that he was doing, and yet people still couldn't get over the fact of this dude that I seen grow up with me. This guy is supposed to be the Messiah, the savior of the world. Like, if he's going to get that, you have individuals out there that's going to deal with the same type of issues. So it's unfortunate. Rest in peace to young Dolph. And it's just unfortunate that it had to happen in his own hometown. I'm gonna stroll down a little bit. I'm gonna read a few more, and then we're gonna get up out of here. TJ, he's a bum. Remember, I think it was Campbell said he's the next Kelsey. I will say this: maybe Dan Campbell's exit could have affected him. I mean, we seen a wide receiver group kind of struggle a little bit with Curtis Johnson left, right? Maybe Dan Campbell seen something in him. Maybe he pushed a level in, pushed something in him that could have got him over that point. I think sometimes we have to know that coaching does matter. There's a reason why Ryan Nielsen, there's a reason why Sean Payton decided to keep him on the staff, right? When he had opportunity to go to LSU, he said no, because he knew that he was going to need him as the defensive line coach. He made him the assistant coach, right? Sometimes when you have those special coaches, you want to keep those guys around because you know how beneficial they are. So maybe that's one of those situations. I don't know. I mean, some people will say I'm making an excuse. Some people will be like, man, that's a good point. But all I know is he leaves a lot to be desired. I'm very disappointed at what I've seen out of him, but I'm not going to give up on this guy. I'm not going to give up on him. Man, TJ, watching the Patriots shut out the fellas at home had me aggravated that we lost to these fools. Yeah. Well, when you look at division games, it's completely different because everybody knows everybody. Josh says, I see defenses don't win championships. No, I said defenses don't win football games. If they did, the Chicago Bears would have had 15 rings from the last 20 years alone. We need to shore up the offense. Josh, defense do win games in certain situations, okay? If you have a defense that can be able to erase what the offense is lacking, then that's a good defense. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a reason why we look at Seattle Seahawks and early 2010s. You know what I'm saying? Like, this past decade, they were struggling offense, but they had a really good defense. And in some cases, their defense helped them out. We seen with the Baltimore Ravens in the 2000s. We seen the Pittsburgh Steelers make it to the Super Bowl with Neil O'Donnell, as trash as he was, because they had a good defense. And then what you alluded to with the Bears. So there are cases where the defense were the catalyst. The thing about it is, consistently, can they do that? And we also seen it with Peyton Manning last season when he was dealing with his injuries. The defense kind of got him over the hump. Here's the thing. You need a quarterback and an offense that can sustain drives and make plays need be. They don't have to be the most explosive offense, but they have to be able to sustain drives. The quarterback has to be able to make the throws to keep those drives going and generate points if you want to have a defense that's formidable. You know what I'm saying? A dominant defense. So you can win a championship, but the offense is going to have to make plays sometime or another. I mean, so technically, you know what I'm saying? I do feel like you need a good defense, but you can't just win a championship just defense alone. Just like you can't win a championship with just offense alone. You can't do it. It's a matter of time when one is going to need the other to step up. I'm just tired of Sean Payton, period, as a head coach is really what's in order. Paul, you're entitled to your opinion, my friend, but I'm gonna have to disagree. I really like Sean Payton as a coach. I think that Sean Payton is a really good coach. I look, is it frustrating sometimes with some of the play calls, some of the things that he does? Absolutely. But I really feel like the Saints would be in an even bigger hole if Sean Payton wasn't the coach. Okay. I think that, I mean, look, I saw it too. I'm pretty sure I can know where your frustration lies. It probably was in that Tampa Bay game when he threw the ball 3 times with Trevor Siemian when all they needed to do was try to burn some clock. And it could have easily blew up in their face if PJ Williams didn't pick off the ball. So I understand that sometimes we question his play calling. What was he thinking at this time? But Sean Payton is the right coach for this team, in my opinion. In my opinion. But you're entitled to yours, man. You're entitled to yours. Ralph says, ATJ, what's going on? How you doing? X-Men says, well, Patriots beating the Falcons 13-0. Let's see. You can coach hold to the ball when it hits your hand. Now, you can't coach that. TJ, do you think this team reminds you of those Saints teams that went 7-9, where he battled injuries and couldn't quite stay consistent? Who are we talking about here? Sean Payton, or we talking about the organization as a whole? It does remind me of that, but this wasn't always the case. Okay, earlier in the season, I didn't see this. The inconsistency will have you in that type of territory, right? It will have you 7-10. I will tell you that. But I don't see that. I see a team that really is a tough football team. If I can say they remind me of any team, it would probably be the last year's Los Angeles Chargers. How they're always there in the end, and something always happened and they lose the game. And their record doesn't indicate how good they were actually, how good they actually were. If I can compare a team, it would be the Chargers from last year. They were a good football team. They played hard to the end. They were always in there in the end, but they just never came out on the receiving end with a victory. Somebody said he's smoking dope. Look, man, look, I feel bad because last episode, I kind of got into it with somebody. And, I going back, I just felt like, like maybe I shouldn't have went that route. People entitled to their opinion, even though if I don't agree with it or not. I don't want to be that way. So even though I don't agree with what Paulie is saying, he's entitled to his opinion, right? That's what makes us all special. What makes us different as people. I guess, the fact that, we're not going to always agree with everything. So you may not agree with what Paulie is saying, and he believes it with, everything he has. So I have no problem with that, man. Xavier says, I just want to thank the God Lord above that some of these fans aren't coaches and don't make decisions for the organization. We'll be the Lions if they did. Paulie also says Sean Payton play calling and not drafting an elite quarterback in his tenure is a big problem. And he's the last 4-season playoff failures are pathetic for real. Well, Paulie, look, I'm not making any excuses. I'm just as frustrated as you are about the playoff appearances and the success in the regular season not equating to the postseason. But I don't feel like letting Sean Payton go would be the answer. Okay, you can be upset with some of the decisions that they make. Fine. The playoffs, yes. But you have to admit that the Saints would be in an even bigger hole with all these injuries they sustained and all the things they endured this season. If they had a new head coach, I don't think that they'll be able to weather this storm. I just don't. Sean Payton, he does a really good job at getting the most out of, the least, in other cases. I don't think that any of these guys will be putting forth the effort they'll be putting towards if they were on other teams. That's what Sean Payton's genius is, to be able to pull out what that person does best and make a scheme for it. And sometimes, other teams can't do that. When they lose players that are important, you start to see a complete nosedive. I haven't seen that. Even when the Saints lost, they've been in there in the end. In every situation, no matter what happened. I finally caught a live stream. Who that TJ? Who that fam? Kim, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that. I can't wait for the Thanksgiving game. I guess that's what you're referring to, Jay. What's up, Mitchell, man? Thank you for being here. Kim says losing Jameis was huge for us, but we're still fighting and still in the thick of things. I'm proud of the team for not giving up. Let's just correct these self-inflicted wounds. I think if they correct them, they'll be fine. Patriots stop Falcons on 4th down. TJ, you my dude, fam. Enjoy it. Hot fire you spit. Keep dropping those 16 bars. Nola, thank you so much. I appreciate the support. Appreciate that. Thank you. Brandon says, hopefully we bounce back against the Eagles. That would be a plus because when we start thinking about 3-game losing streaks, that's when people really start to get nervous. Saints versus Bills should be a good game on Thanksgiving night. Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a fun game. Saints losing to the Patriots still can't. The Saints lost to these boys 2 weeks ago. I can't believe it either. Jerry also gave a shout out to Kim. I've been a Saints supporter for 38 years in New Orleans. Will make head coaching change in the next 5 years. I mean, look, we don't know what the future holds, Paulie. You could be right. I mean, you could be making a coaching change in the next 5 years. Nothing is set in stone. I understand your frustration, but I don't feel like moving on from Sean Payton would be the answer. Not to me, man. Not to me. We got to just win. That's what I'm talking about. Jerry, you ain't lying. Had no business losing to Atlanta. I think that game gonna come back to haunt him. Chosen says, great show as always. We'll have another show on tomorrow. Not sure if I'm gonna have another show on tomorrow, man. To be honest with you, I might just chill, but we definitely will have another show on Saturday night, the prediction show, and on Sunday. So probably won't have no show tomorrow. Got to do some work, some station situations. I don't know, man. Might kick it with the family. Might do something with them. Might have a little family movie night. I want to try to keep this thing balanced. Okay, but we definitely gonna have some shows this weekend. Ian Book will get it going. Look, I mean, Sammy, honestly, look, I ain't got nothing against Ian Book, and I'm just as intrigued as you are. But I really don't think a quarterback change is the answer in this situation. I mean, no matter who the quarterback is, wide receivers got to catch the ball, man. You know what I mean? Guys got to be able to make plays. I mean, Ian Book can go only do so much. You know what I'm saying? So if he gets the ball where it needs to be and these guys dropping it, I mean, we would be dealing with the same situation. So if this was like a quarterback situation where, I mean, this guy was throwing picks left and right and, he wasn't making the right reads, then I'll be with you. But I don't think a quarterback change would be the answer in this. I mean, these wide receivers got to catch the ball, Sam. Let's see. That's dope, bro. Family first. Yeah, Chosen, man. We definitely going to get back to it, man. But like I said, I want to spend a little time with the family. The Eagle fired Doug Peterson after the Super Bowl win. Paulie, that was a little bit different, to be honest with you. There's a different type of regime. And if you listen to, I encourage you to check out the Broad Street podcast that was on Broad Street South podcast. There was a Philadelphia Eagles podcast I just finished doing immediately following this live stream. You know what I mean? Before the live stream started. That's where I was. And they were talking about Howie Roseman. Sometimes when you have those GMs and those owners and they like to be the center of attention and, they're in a rabid fan base, you have to be able to make some of those decisions. So Doug Peterson wanted to run the team his way. He wanted to do things his way. And, of course, Howie Roseman, they didn't want it that way. So there was a little bit of a clash of the Titans, if you will, between those guys. So Doug Peterson, in my opinion, didn't get a fair shot to really run the Eagles the way that he needed it to run. And I think by him, in week 17, benching Jalen Hurts and putting in a backup quarterback to play, it was almost like, okay, y'all don't want me to do what I feel like is right. Y'all gonna fire me anyway. So here's 2 middle fingers on the way out. But the biggest issue was he wanted to run the team the way he wanted to run it, and they didn't have that. They didn't want that. With the Saints, you don't have that type of resistance. You have Mickey Loomis and Sean Payton. These two guys understand. Mickey Loomis handles the business aspect, and Sean Payton coaches the players on the field, and he does it his way. And I feel like that's when you really see who the real coach actually is. When you don't have enablers, when you don't have people behind the scenes calling the shots, when you don't have people pacifying and babysitting you, that's when I feel like that's when you get a true coaching opportunity. When those situations don't come awry, I feel like you should judge those coaches differently. Because in my opinion, I don't feel like Doug Peterson should even have left the Eagles. And I feel like what they're doing right now, it kind of indicates why they shouldn't have. TJ, love to see Ingram and Kamara run the ball on Buffalo like those two did 5 years ago. Yeah, that was a huge game, but that was a completely different Buffalo Bills team. You're not going to get that Buffalo Bills team this time around. They're good, solid defensively. Josh Allen is a beast at a quarterback, and they have some really good players on that team. So the Saints going to have to bring their A game. I was on to support you, TJ, but was no sound on Broad Street. Yeah, the thing about it was never supposed to be that long. Okay, that live stream wasn't supposed to be that long. It was really just to encourage you all because I didn't know the link. I was just going to tell you all to come over to the Broad Street South podcast. So it actually went longer than it was supposed to because at that particular time, if you watched the show, you seen I had Paxton in a room with me because my wife wasn't at home just yet. So I wasn't able to click over or make that announcement or type it up to let everybody know because I was dealing with Paxton, trying to listen to what the other what Angel and Mike were trying to say. So it was a little bit rough. So that went a little bit longer than I wanted it to. That was just a notification to let everybody know to come to Broad Street South to check out the rest of the podcast. Okay, that was all about. And I apologize, I didn't have any sound. I apologize for that. I found out like really, really late, but it wasn't supposed to last that long. It was really just supposed to be, the introduction and me telling you all to come over to the podcast and then end the live stream because I didn't know the link to his to the podcast. I only got like the link for StreamYards to come over there. I didn't know what the link was for the channel. That was the only issue. Sammy says Sean been making bad calls. I agree with that. I agree with that one. Let's go Alvin Kamara. And that comes from Matt. All right, but I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you all for making the show what it is. On your way out, if you would be so kind to hit that thumbs up if you enjoy the show. Thank you all for your support, those that supported on the Broad Street South podcast. That's available right now on YouTube, youtube.com, search Broad Street South podcast. Check it out. Man, those are some solid brothers over there. They do an outstanding job. And really support those guys, man. May not be Eagles fans, but just support them, man. Those are some solid guys over there. They have some really good commentary. They also get other fans from other teams that do podcasts just like mine to come on there to talk about NFL teams. So just check it out, man, and support those brothers. Also support the State of the Saints podcast by subscribing if you have not already. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com, search The State of the Saints podcast, facebook.com, search The State of the Saints podcast. You can also follow me on Twitter, okay? Follow me on Twitter at TJAYJones8 and also on Instagram under that same name. Thank you so much for all those that came over. Thank you all those that comment that make the State of the Saints podcast what it is. Look forward to talking to you all this weekend about the Saints' big Week 11 matchup versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And hopefully the Saints can get off that 2-game schneid with a victory in Lincoln Financial Field. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?